Thank you all for staying back to an afternoon session, and thank you also, Mr. Dr. Kumar, for the brief introduction, and thank you for speakers. How do I get my presentation here? By way of introduction, the desktop. I'm sorry about this. Maybe someone with expertise in this kind of technology could help me out. By way of introduction, I still haven't found the presentation, by the way. So somebody would be so kind as to help me here. I am a Danish national. I found it now. I'm a Danish national. I have worked for a Danish conglomerate, the then largest company of Denmark for 10 years. Following that, I had a year in London of studying in MBA. I then joined a German small and medium-sized enterprise consulting firm, management consulting firm in the space of transportation and logistics and infrastructure planning. With that company, I came to India 5.5 years ago, and since January, I am heading this political entity, which is not actually a political entity. So you see, I have a business background, but I've been hired by the European Union to head the European Business and Technology Center, which is actually a business entity within a political environment. So the person who's speaking to you today is one who loves. Sorry? Sorry. Thank you. Sorry about that. So the person who's speaking to you today is one who loves your country, who has consciously taken the decision to stay back. It's a person who has a business background and is seeing himself as sort of a connect between what is being done at a political level and what needs to be done at an operational and business level. The focus of EBTC is specifically small and medium-sized enterprises, which is why I'm standing right here. Now, I have a 20-minute presentation, and there are two ways to cut it down. Either I just cut it short, 10 minutes, or I speed talk. I tend to speed talk. So I hope it doesn't have any problem. I'll be here afterwards anyway for any further questions. So the agenda, I'll talk about small companies, which are small and medium-sized enterprises, which have a big impact. Joining hands, EU and India, which is our mandate of EBTC, to reap the opportunities that climate change presents. And why climate change? That is because that is the main mandate, the political mandate of EBTC. And then I'll speak to you a bit about the European Business and Technology Center, the EBTC, and how it actually presents an opportunity for you as well as a small and medium-sized enterprise. Now, we've spoken about this throughout the day, more on in an Indian context, obviously. This is a presentation with put a bit of an EU spin on it, which can also be of interest to you to see where India could potentially learn a bit. But I'm very, very aware, and it's always more of EU, that we can also learn a lot from India. Now, the European Union sees the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises as the backbone of its economy. In fact, 99% of all European businesses are SMEs. This is measured in the number of companies, not on revenue and not on number of people. The EU has about, we're talking about 27 member states now, has about 23 million SMEs, and they contribute to about half of the EU's GDP and provide for almost 2/3 of the private sector jobs in the European Union. Now, there were a few numbers earlier in the day on Indian numbers, and we have done the exercise internally also trying to have comparable numbers, but it's very, very difficult because there's so many different definitions of what is a small and medium-sized enterprises. We've actually also had a discussion with FISME about this, what is it and how should it be, but that's irrelevant in this context right now. The European Union also sees small and medium-sized enterprises to actually drive the next wave of globalization. So if you look back the last 20 or 30 years, globalization has been driven by multinational companies. Now we need to go one step further in global integration. We have to look at the small and medium-sized enterprises to get on that next wave of globalization. And they need support. They don't have the resources that the multinationals have. And what's more, following a crisis, or some would even argue we're still in part of the crisis, if you're a small and medium-sized enterprise in Europe, and you are seeing growth rates dive, and your typical market is either regional, it may be national, it may just go across the borders to neighboring countries, but you're not getting any growth, and you don't see where's the growth going to come from. What the European Union is trying to tell them is look outside Europe here, and look towards markets like the European Union. Now, small and medium-sized enterprises are typically or traditionally a bit slow at responding to globalization, but now, they're from a session like this, they're forced to look abroad, and there are ample opportunities for the SMEs to develop in that direction. The European Union also sees the SMEs as a bed or a seed bed of innovation. They are actually the driving force, and even multinational companies recognize that, behind a large number of technological innovations. They're more flexible, they're more agile, and often better positioned just to develop, if not always implement new ideas. So actually, the European Union recognizes that SMEs play a pivotal role in the success of the European economy. And from what I hear today, and also with initiatives like the booklet that was released today, that's also on the agenda, political agenda of India. If you look earlier, this whole climate change, clean technology, and so forth was often seen by companies as a bit of a must. We have to do it, we have to look into it, and what have you. But now, more and more companies are seeing it as a vehicle to become profitable. And clean technology is a market in itself. Climate change is a market in itself, and that was also very, very evident during COP15. So, especially in the climate change-related sectors, or clean technology sectors, the European SMEs are among the major creators of key supply innovative products, processes, services, and technologies. And here's just mentioned a few of them. I won't spend time on that. We'll have a copy of the presentation on the website afterwards. Yes, you can have a look at that. Now, what is interesting for the European Union, but also for you, is that the European Union is very, very interested in joining hands and having companies joining hands to reap the opportunities that climate change presents. There's a very, very high untapped potential for expanding trade and investment between Indian and European SMEs. EBDC has a focus on energy, environment, biotech, and transport, because that is where clean technologies can help the most, probably, by mitigating climate change. EU also recognizes that India is blessed with resources to exploit developments in clean energy. India has scientists, engineers, and the capacity to learn in many aspects. I mean, even earlier last year, the President declared this decade the decade of innovation. And I think that's also where India has to move towards innovation and knowledge, and not being a human resource provider purely. The opportunities for Indian SMEs is obviously joint ventures to commercialize the technology solutions here in the Indian market, because no European SME can do it on its own. We've seen enough of things like that fail. Develop jointly on projects. The TGZ director earlier today was also talking about this. Manufacturing and licensing agreements can be entered into, and definitely also technical cooperation. Now, for an SME from Europe to come to India is by no means what we call a no-brainer. It's not something that was very easy. I felt it on my own body, bringing that German SME to India. India is very large, it's diverse, it's exotic, it's even mystic sometimes, and can be quite daunting to come here. And the SMEs are the ones who have, like I mentioned before, the less resources and the less time to recognize possible ways to start new collaborations. And that's where they need some hand-holding or some soft landing here. Similarly, the other way around, from the Indian companies who are looking at sourcing technologies from the EU and finding the right commercial prototype can be a challenging and time-consuming task. So what is needed, I mean, apart from high-level talk that we've had also earlier, and other people are also referring to it, is an active support to promote those partnerships between the Indian and the European SMEs. So what is the European Business and Technology Center? It's all about doing exactly that, being that active support. So, I mean, EU finds that EU-India trade needs to boost. If you look at numbers like this, these are numbers from January 2009 to November 2009, where the exports on both sides, on both ways, actually fell, has since increased. But there's a lot of focus on India being a market for opportunities, and also realizing the possibility of the partnerships also benefiting European Union by partnering with Indian entities. The mission of EBTC is exactly to enhance this business-to-business partnerships, not only at a business level, also at a research level. And the main beneficiaries are, in fact, small and medium-sized enterprises from India and EU, because they're exactly at the heart of EBTC's efforts, and they're the people who need the support. So what we're trying to do here, EBTC is quite a recent initiative. It's a pilot project, in fact. It's a first off, and EU wants to replicate this in other markets. So all eyes are in India, and it's hats off to India for EU choosing India to be the pilot destination first. Now here is just a brief view of what EBTC is about. The four focus sectors. It's all about, when you're talking about technology transfer, clean technology transfer, there's a lot of market access issues, because technology cannot be transferred, obviously, when without market access being there. So if you look at EBTC, we have a head office here in North Place in New Delhi, and that's also where I'm based. Along with my team there, we have 3 regional offices in Mumbai, Bangalore, and Kolkata, and 2 additional antennae in the planning stage. The regional office will open here this September. So we are developing this geographical reach. The project, as it is seen in Brussels, is coordinated by an association called Eurochambers. This is a chamber or an association of more than 2,000 regional and local chambers of commerce and associations, institutions, universities, and so forth, with a connect to 20 million enterprises in Europe. The EBTC has been structured in a manner with 16 consortium partners who all provide knowledge and connect to the research and business communities. If you look at this slide, you can see the offices in the middle.